Ladies and gentlemen, friends, and my family. How are you doing? And right now, as I'm talking to you, I'm going to bring to you, as I said, every time in this interview, which is called as Transparent Talks, no questions, which is like preset. Everything is rough, raw, and behind the scenes, actually in front of you. And this is where I bring in some of the amazing people from across the world. And today I have got Nadene from Canada. Just to tell you, I don't know how do I introduce Nadene, but she has been doing a lot of stuff. She has been doing mindfulness. She's a speaker. She has been author, a parent, a coach, a founder of Leader to Impact, visionary, CEO of a company, which is like quite a lot of things. I mean, if I tell you about Nadene, it's going to be taking probably more than 30 minutes nonstop. So Nadene, without any further ado, with let me invite you as the speaker of the day today. Welcome on the show.
Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm so honored to be a part of this today. I'm so excited.
Okay, guys, just let me understand this. Okay, what will happen if I call you in the middle of a place when you are driving and I say, "Hello, dear brother, I need to take an interview." I'm sure you'll be zonked. And now today I have got Nadene. I just caught her and I said, "Nadene, this is something that I need to do. You've been talking so much information about stuff, and is it okay if I can take an interview?" And you know what? Without any second thought, she says, "I'm in." So thank you so much for being so humble. Okay. So Nadene, before I go inside, is it okay if I can just ask you? Probably, I might not have articulated your introduction rightly. So if anyone wants to know who is exactly the lady with the joy, Nadene Joy.
Oh, thank you for that wonderful introduction. And yes, you're right. I'm all about, living in the moment and being able to just really go with the flow. And sometimes that's where the greatest joys lie. And you're talking about the joy, right? And that's something that, a lot of us, we take for granted sometimes, those little moments. And so who am I? What do I do? I like you said, there's many things that I started out. I actually worked as a geologist. I'm going to give you a little bit of a background on my story as to why I do what I do. I worked for a geologist for a global oil company for over a decade. And basically, a long story short, I worked my way to the top of the corporate ladder. I graduated top of my class, won all of these awards of excellence, of academic achievement, all of these things, worked my way to the top to where I thought I was going to be happy. And I got to the top and I was there, and there was something inside of me, some void that was there that was missing, and I couldn't put my finger on it. And over the years, I actually started getting sick, and I got so sick that I couldn't work anymore, and I almost died. And this was the moment where I realized like how important these moments of living your truth and living who you are and following your purpose and your passion and your joys in life is so important to you. So for me, I knew from the time I was 4 years old, I knew I was meant to help people, but yet I was in this profession where I was working, driving myself. I was a workaholic. I did all of these things for basically worth. I was defining my worth and who I was externally and the things I was accomplishing, the things I was doing, instead of who I was inside, instead of who I was meant to be, who I was meant to serve, being here of service, helping people, making a difference in their life, bringing joy and hope and blessings into people's lives. And that's where my journey started. And if it wasn't for that moment of realizing, that I wasn't going to be here the next day and having that light bulb moment that went off, I wouldn't have got into the coaching business to begin with, starting as a parenting coach, then life coach, business coach, leadership coach. So interesting how life evolves. The very first thing in university I wanted to take was psychology. I love psychology. I've always loved people. I've loved interacting, connecting with others. And the counselor told me, you can't, basically there's no jobs being a psychologist. And if you do, you need to be a professor. And I was like, yeah, I guess I won't do that. So I let one person steer my entire trajectory of my career. And now 20 years later, I'm back working in psychology and doing the work that I absolutely adore and love.
Okay. And you know what? I'm just blown away with this one word. And this one word was probably the first book when you said, uncover your purpose. That's an incredible one word that probably changes your being existence, or probably you'll say that the human form of yours. And that is like very powerful. But what you have done is you have decorated with two more fantastic words called as healing and sharing and gift and so much stuff. Okay, would you like to share something about that? Probably we can go to the next part. But you know what? Before we talk about that, I would like to know, you told about the stories and how it all started, but uh, from geography to psychology. It's a big jump. I mean, from the mountains to the mines.
Yes, you're right. It is, but I believe even having a geography degree opened my mind, and I think it's all about keeping an open mind and open perspective on life. And like even learning about geography, learning about all the different countries and cultures and things around the world, we're all
Correct.
essentially, the more I've connected with people globally, the more I recognize like we're all one, we're all connected
Yeah.
together, and we all have the same mission, the same purpose, and the same things that fulfill them, which is to do good in the world, to make a difference in the world, to help people, find their purpose, their passion, and to live their dreams and be the best version that they can be of themselves. It's all about really like that, uncovering the purpose. I didn't even want to write that book. Like this is one of those stories.
This is a
I
strange
woke up.
one. I mean, the first author who is telling I didn't want to write that book, but I just wrote it.
Yeah,
And
it's
that
one of
becomes a
those things.
sensation now.
Yeah, I kept hearing voices like 100 times, you need to write this book, you need to write this book. And it was just coincidence after coincidence. I went on Facebook and the first thing I saw was somebody looking to help you write a book. And I just, for fun, I thought it was a kind of a fun thing. I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to email them. If they email me back, then that's a sign I'm supposed to write this book. And I had no idea at that
Right.
time even what the topic was going to be, but it all worked out, and I knew that it was meant to help people. And that's what it's
Okay.
about in life.
So
Yeah.
nice. So yeah, so with different geographies, different culture, now getting inside the people's brains and making them the future's leaders. That's an incredible journey. I say this Sahara to everywhere. Okay. And that's what brings me to one more point to ask you is when you say young minds and being as the leaders of tomorrow, and now the young minds are all under lockdown situation. They are inside the things. And now their parents might be having a tough time managing, man, let the ghost be out now. Okay. The monster should be outside now. So at this kind of a condition when everything is locked down, how do you think a good way that we can bring in leadership? Because leadership is all about going out, meeting people, making a team, making the first fan, first follower, first believer. And now since you are locked in inside, how do you reciprocate the same thing? I mean, how do you get inside their their way of life?
Yeah, so I believe it starts with you. It starts with yourself and inside of you, right? It starts with your mindset, the way the thoughts that you think, what you
Mhm.
believe about yourself. Because I believe, whether you're a leader, whether you're an educator, a teacher, whatever it is in society, a CEO of a company, we all have this ability to impact others, no matter what age we are. Even if we're 5 years old, we still have the ability to make that difference in the world and make that change. And it starts with, now that there's a lockdown, all of these crazy things that are happening in the world, it really starts with, looking at yourself and like, hey, how can I improve upon myself to be the best person that I can be? What are the things that I can do? What are the things that bring me joy? And focusing on those things instead of looking at all of the negative things, all of the things in the world. We haven't listened, I have 4 kids, but I haven't listened to news, I think, for the past 2 months because of the negativity that harbors in our environment. And we choose to
Sure.
focus on joy and focus on the good things and focus on the things inside of us and what we can do to make that positive difference. Yeah. Not only in
Yeah.
ourselves, but out into others. Yeah.
See, there was a time when the parents would be like, oh my God, my son is or daughter is always continuously on the phone, trying to play video games, and doing something on social media, and now that's the only media. If you need to make your life to the next level, I think that's an only art. So I have a kind of a very, I don't know, might be a serious question for you is at this point of time to select the right applications and get into something like this, like as I'm talking to you, that's the only way probably we can, I think we millennials would be basically connecting, but what about this Gen Z, okay, the next generation kids? How do you make them not to go into those applications? There's a good and bad everywhere, and probably keeping them now sitting inside and with a phone or with a laptop or a tablet is kind of a nuisance. So how do you unleash the true potentials?
Yeah. And like there's every generation has its own set of characteristics, right?
Absolutely.
That they kind of resonate to, or that they're drawn to. And with this new generation of children, it's a whole new way like for parents to relate to them in such a different way. Like they, for example, they need constant variety. They get bored very easily. Their attention span is not there. The technology, they have the access to this at their fingertips.
Right.
Being able to, as parents, foster in these children, like to uncover their potential, is like fostering change and being able to bring in each and every day, find something that they can learn about that they didn't know about, learn something new, learn a new skill, learn a new word. Like in our house, we try to learn a new word every day, for example. What is something that we can expand our vocabulary, expand something about the world, and uncover that part of you that you maybe, there's we all have untapped potential inside of us that we don't utilize. And this new generation is even more powerful than any other generation out there right now. They have this potential, this huge potential to make change in the world as our future leaders. And it's so important to honor them and who they are and their uniqueness and their differences, that it's okay to be different. That was one thing as a child. I always felt different. I always felt like I couldn't be myself. Nobody talked about things to you. Be real with your kids. Talk to them about the things like that. It's good to be different. All of our greatest leaders of our time were different at some point in their life and did go through struggles and go through tribulations in their lives to get to where they are today. Honor your differences, I would say, is the biggest thing. Honor your uniqueness. Honor who you are. Your gifts, you've been given them for a reason, because there's people out there in the world, no matter what age you are, that only you can help. There's nobody else in the world that can help them the way you can.
It's very profound. I think well said, Nadene. I think I don't know where should I put in all this, because I cannot imagine the next future. I mean, the next level of leaders, there wouldn't be any kind of rallies and mass talks. All it's going to be on webinar and I don't know, something like this probably. I don't know how the next level of election is going to be. How do you elect such kind of people who are all inside? So people probably, running the entire nation sitting inside, and probably this a small screen is going to be the only window for managing this entire world. I think it's very, I don't know. How do I think this? But it's scary. Managing through artificial intelligence and stuff like that. And I think we need leaders with a real human touch who can feel for the human to the human.
Right? Exactly. Like the human connectedness right now, especially being in isolation, is the part that's missing, right? That human connectedness, being in the physical presence of other people. Zoom is great. It's amazing how we connect across the world. We can do these video conferencing. It's amazing. Like I can't imagine going through this COVID situation, 5 or even 10 years ago, when Zoom and all of these other platforms, were unaccessible. So right now, I guess it's a blessing looking at that we do have the technology that we do to be able to connect with people like such as yourself across the world, and really allow that human connectedness, even though it's not the same as being face to face. It's the next best thing, right? And really focusing on that with these children, these younger generations, to really reach out to people and to learn from other people of other generations, and let us as the older generation to learn from younger people. There's so much wisdom that harbors inside of these young people today, and just take time to talk to them and really get to know who they are, and what brings them joy, what is their purpose. I can talk to them more about that, help them to really understand who they really are and their place in the world, because there's so much darkness right now in the world. People, and children especially, they feel like they're hopeless. There's hopelessness. They just feel like there's no purpose anymore. And that's the biggest thing. I was reading a study the other day. I was talking to a doctor out of Toronto, and he was mentioning there's all these studies done that psychologists have done. And the number one thing that you can do to turn and switch, like almost like flip the switch in your life, is to focus on your purpose, focus on why you're here, and focus on your gifts that you have inside of you. That alone, just thinking about that, just even thinking about that for 30 seconds can shift your mental awareness to create something that is beyond your wildest dreams in your life.
Very nice, because one more thing is, I think in this last probably was 30 to 40 years, you have seen a lot of other stuff, other kind of pandemics and other kind of I'll say the outburst has happened. And if you study a little bit of our history, I think this is the only time when people are open-minded, people are more tolerant, people are understanding, mindfulness, and there's a lot of finding the right motivations. A lot of I'll say the gurus have flung into action. I think this is a time when a lot of people, rather than getting outside, they are learning about their inside, and that is such an incredible thing. So I strongly believe the next level leaders who are born right now under this, I call them as probably the COVID coaches or COVID entrepreneurs, coronapreneurs. I think that might be the next terminologies. So these guys, when they bring up, get to the next level, the joy of probably the human to human touch is going to be incredible. It's going to be
Yeah.
a next level. And probably those kind of open air events and get together, family dining, wedding, these are all going to be absolutely the next level. Would be, I'll not say the new normal, but it is the future normal going to be that,
Yeah,
which we have already have seen.
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. And being able to honor the struggles that people have gone through, whether that's
yes,
trauma or loss or grief or addiction, whatever that is right now. There's so much of that going on in the world, right? And just honoring everybody's journey, and everybody is exactly where they're supposed to be on their journey, and everything's happened for a reason, not looking at it like it's good or bad. Like I always say, there's no such thing as good or bad. They're just who knows kind of moments, right? Because sometimes the things that we look at that are the most horrible things that have happened in our lives turn out to be our greatest blessings and
I
our
think,
greatest lessons in life.
I think it's something which probably I think nature's way to probably cleanse itself, I guess. And it's not only cleansing the nature, it's also cleansing the spirits inside our body, right? Or also the spirits around, not inside the body. We are inside the spirits. So with that, Nadine, I think it was a fantastic, and I'm so happy, that we got this small window to talk to you, even though you had been traveling somewhere, and I'm just asking, and so obliged that you could give your valuable time. I do understand being a CEO, being a mompreneur, with doing so many things to fill out your time and doing this is really incredible. So I'm so thankful for you. Number one. Number two is you have given certain things which are, I think, the dosages. I think the golden nuggets. So guys, if you're watching this, I think you need to probably pause, rewind, and replay slow, because there are a lot of things which unknowingly or knowingly she has talked about a lot of things which probably makes a lot of meaning. And if you are a millennial watching this, I think enjoy this time, because you have already enjoyed the things which probably our future leaders, future generations, I don't know if would they be getting it back or not. But with that, Nathan, is there anything that you would like to share to the community, which probably would end this interview in a kind of the highest note?
Honestly, like working with kids, I've worked with, even just the past since COVID, like suicide, all of these crazy things that are going on right now with kids. I've worked with so many families right now that it gives me the greatest fulfillment knowing that you're making a difference in those children's lives and helping them succeed and grow and become better, and helping their families, because it starts with their parents, right? It all starts with their parents and how they're parenting them, and these multi-generational patterns that are passed down from one generation to the next, and defaulting to them parenting the way they were parented, which does not work for the new generation of children. Does not
Right.
work. It'll cause them to rebel, it'll cause them to whatever the case, and just not succeed and not be successful in life. I love what you're doing, and like you're creating businesses and entrepreneurship. Like what I've learned is like helping children, what is the word I'm trying to say, helping them create a business that's aligned with authentically who they are inside is so important. And I know
Absolutely.
you know that too, right? Like, and that's the biggest thing, the biggest advice I can give.
So how I'm trying to do is, what you rightly said is, there are a lot of people who are called as the forced entrepreneurs. They never wanted to become, but probably thus they thought that, okay, let me just do something out of it, and slowly that passion changed into a poison, and it doesn't work. So what I'm trying to do is a little bit opposite. So when people get into this startup things, they try to manage a lot of things. So it's the Pareto principle, the 80-20 principle, right? So 80% is all the marketing, sales, managing, operations, and I don't know, legals, and all this tax and government policies. They get bored with all these things. That is not what they wanted to do. They wanted to work with their own passion. So what is happening is 80% of the junk and 20% of the whatever they want to do. But the tension is going to take another 5 to 10% more. So every day, if you're working for 10 hours a day, and the junk is for the circus, and not the junk, all the extra stuff that you want to do is majority of it. So you sleep with it, and you wake up with the unfinished job of yesterday. Okay, and that is not what your intention is. So you cannot have the passion with so much of junk inside. So when I say junk, because that is something which is required, but you cannot throw it out. Okay, You have to do it. So why not I create a kind of an ecosystem where what you love is 80% and what you don't love is just 20%. Make sense?
Exactly. I love that. That is, yeah, 100%. Like, why not, right? Why not have, you know, children being brought up in, like you said, entrepreneurship or businesses that they actually love doing, instead of like their parents going to work hating their jobs, right? That's what majority of the children these days see, is their parents hating their
Yeah,
jobs,
absolutely. I was coming to
complaining.
that. Yeah. So when you
Right.
see that,
Yeah.
you know, your father is like kind of coming home, or mom is coming home tired and watching television and getting to that Netflix thing and then popping some popcorn and all. And at the end of the day, you just are alone. You're always alone. So why not you do something when you see, like for example, say you love to play a guitar or you want to be a musician, fine. So get somebody to do the marketing. The guy, the kid who loves to do marketing, give him the marketing. The guy who needs to do the
Mhm.
content, give him the content thing, right? So if you can
Yeah.
create that kind of an ecosystem, now this is what I call this as ECG, Entrepreneurs Conglomerate Group. So where everyone is an
Mhm.
entrepreneur by their own selves and their own domains, and they are trying to be the best version. I'll not say the best version. They don't have to be the efficient or the perfectionist one. What I'm telling is,
Yeah.
why can't you become the more informed guy? I don't want you to be the best guy, but be the guy who is more informed than anyone else in your locality or probably in the society. That does the job. Or
Yeah.
if
And
you're
more authentic, right? We have that
exactly.
authentic. Yeah,
So just imagine who
exactly.
wouldn't like to work with an organization where everyone is a passionpreneur.
Mm, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
So when I saw that word and I just connected with you, I don't know, there might be some wavelength match somewhere. I said, okay, I think it is universe calling me. I don't know about all the stuff. I felt like, why not like let me just reach out to her. And I've never typed such a long letter in my life. Okay.
I'm so glad you did, though. I'm so glad you did. Because when I was reading it, I felt so what you said, like the synchronicity, the universe, God, this connection, that it felt like it's like I had to connect with you. There is something, like you said, so much greater than you and I, right? It's about all of these children. I believe it has to do with these children that you're working with, and the passion of mine, which is to help, empower these children who are leaders of tomorrow.
I do understand. I'm probably might be a small speck in this entire galaxy. Not maybe, I know it is not my thing, but I have probably that small fire, but I cannot bring this. It's not a small, it's a small spark that I have, and I'm doing it in a very local area. I do not know much about it. I'm not exposed to some of the biggest stuff that you guys might be doing it.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's interesting because even my son, so my oldest son, I have four kids. So I have two boys and two girls. My oldest son is 11. My youngest girl is 5. And my son, when he was 8 years old. So this started with my son. My first son in kindergarten did not fit into the public school system box at all. He's the kid that would read 100 books in a week, like when he was like 3 years old, like remembers, I swear he
Wow.
has like a photographic memory. Like he's just like a lot of these children, they're so gifted and they're so beyond intelligent with the things that they come up with. It just absolutely, with my
Wow.
own children now, we've worked with. So anyways, long story short, he created a kids camp. He hated all the kids camps we used to send him to, like the science
Okay.
camps and all these things. So he woke up one
Yeah.
morning and he said, Mom, do not send me to another kids camp. I am not going. I Pardon my language, but I hate these camps. They are not fun. I'm not learning anything. So he's like, that's it. I'm going to create my own kids camp. So he sat down, I'm not even kidding you, in an hour, wrote down on a piece of paper Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, wrote
Wow.
down a theme for each day, and incorporated like 6 different components in each day so that children would be interested. There's an element of surprise. So they didn't know what was coming next. They did not know what we were going to be teaching the
Wow.
next day. So we've been doing this now for 3 years. We worked with hundreds of children in our community. Again, it's local, but it's one of those things where I know like just this program that he created has helped so many children all the way from ages 4 up to age 13 is kind of the ages that we focused on in our kids camp. But amazing, right? Like leadership, like the 4-year-old was up there doing a presentation, teaching the rest of the class about something that they knew that nobody else knew about. Like it's so empowering for them to see and experience these
I
things.
was I'm really amazed by the story here, and it connects me with something that I just read. And it says kids do something they learn only by these two things. They call it as mirroring and matching. Okay, and so it's a um, so there is only two things. mirroring or matching. If you take only the first alphabet of these three words, what it comes?
Mirroring and matching. Oh, ABC.
Mirroring
Yeah.
or matching. That's the only way, anyone can learn. Okay.
Yeah,
So
I
if you
believe
put,
that.
yeah, you have to, as I said, it reflects to that initials of each of these alphabets. MOM.
Oh, it's mom. I didn't see that.
Listen, see that?
Oh, I love that. Oh my gosh. I had no idea that's what it was.
Yeah.
That is awesome. I love it. I love
Thank
it.
you.
I
I
love it. I
just,
love
I
it. My
just, I
husband.
just made that part.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. And that's funny because yeah, he said that I want to create this. And then I said, well, let's do it. Like get writing. Let's do it. And so I made him create the online application form, like online. It's like, just do it. Let's do one step at a time
So,
and do it. Like to show
so
them that their dreams can become a reality, right? It's huge. Yeah, I think it's about really, it's not necessarily just about us. It's going from this the I to we, right? We together. And it's not like it doesn't have to be, you going out and changing the world. There's little small things that you can do each and every day. And I always say, there's something like the other day we were driving our car, and my daughter who's 5 years old looking out the window, and a lady's looking at her and she's looking back, and I said, why don't you just wave to her? And she waved to her and she smiled, and the little girl, like the lady waved back and smiled. And I think it's about those little moments, right? Where we can just bring joy and greater happiness to others in those little moments, even if you don't know the people. So it's about something as simple as like smiling at somebody in their passing and bringing that extra light into their world.
I was reading another book, and it's called as 90 Seconds of Likingness. I mean, you can let anyone like you in less than 90 seconds, and it starts with your attitude, or how you see. Smile is a way long thing, but your attitude that you want to give a smile or you got to just give a wave, that attitude itself is so pure. I think this is what I think the next generation probably might be missing it, because being locked down, I do not know, there will be a new conditioning in the brain, and then we need more people like you to probably condition, or I'll say reverse engineer back to the millennial culture, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah, exactly. And stepping out of your comfort zone, right? Thinking like,
Yes.
it's okay. Like it's okay to go out of your comfort zone. That's how you grow. That's how you evolve. That's how you become a better version of you, right? So continually step yourself, push yourself, challenge yourself out of your comfort zone.
Amazing. So Nathan, let's probably this is an amazing a small share of thoughts would happen. So I'm sure when the new normal gets into the next level, when we love our own selfies more than anybody else around, then this is the next level. We should have to get the millennial culture to the next level leaders. Let them do not forget about the history, the culture, the tradition, and the human values that we bring in for. So with that, gentlemen, ladies, if you're watching this, write down your comments. I'm sure anything that is there, Madan will be also been tagged here, definitely. Write to us. I'm sure there will be a lot of informations that probably we can share it back to you. So if you have watched so far, there is a button down there somewhere that is for you to share the right values to the right people. With that, see you. Bye-bye. Take care and stay safe.